Elagabalus, also known as Heliogabalus, remains one of the most controversial figures to have ruled the Roman Empire. His reign, spanning from 218 to 222 CE, was marked by both extravagance and scandal, as well as his fervent devotion to the Syrian sun god, Elagabalus. Born in 203 CE, as Varius Avitus Bassianus in Emesa, a city in the Roman province of Syria, Elagabalus hailed from the influential Severan dynasty, which had ruled Rome since Septimius Severus's ascension in 193 CE. His mother, Julia Soaemius, and his grandmother, Julia Maesa, were politically ambitious women who played a pivotal role in his rise to power. Both women were instrumental in orchestrating political alliances and manipulating military loyalties, ensuring that their family maintained influence in the increasingly unstable Roman political climate. Following the assassination of Emperor Caracalla in 217 CE, Elagabalus seized the throne, though his rule remained tenuous. Julia Maesa, seeking to restore her family's influence, circulated the claim that Elagabalus was Caracalla's illegitimate son, thus strengthening his claim to the imperial title. With the backing of the Syrian legions, Elagabalus was declared emperor in 218 CE, and soon triumphed over Macrinus, the short-lived successor of Caracalla, in battle near Antioch. This victory secured his position and allowed him to begin his journey to Rome as the new ruler of the empire. Upon his arrival in Rome, Elagabalus stunned the aristocracy by promoting the cult of the Syrian deity Elagabalus, solar god, as the empire's principal religious practice. He commissioned the construction of a grand temple, the Elagabaleum, on the Palatine Hill, and sought to merge Rome's traditional religious customs with his own foreign faith. To many Romans, this act represented not only religious innovation, but also a direct challenge to centuries of Roman religious tradition. The emperor actively participated in the new rituals, personally serving as the high priest of his god. He often appeared in ornate robes of gold and purple, wearing heavy makeup and jewelry, and was known to dance ecstatically before the altar in what Romans considered an unseemly display for an emperor. In a symbolic act of religious unification, he arranged a ceremonial marriage between the goddess Vesta and Elagabalus, an attempt to integrate Roman and Syrian spirituality into a single divine framework. Beyond his religious reforms, Elagabalus became infamous for his excessive and unconventional behavior. His banquets and feasts were legendary, with reports describing pools filled with wine and rose petals for the amusement of his guests. Ancient sources, particularly Cassius Dio and Herodian, recount tales of the emperor's opulence, claiming that he served exotic dishes such as camel heels, ostrich brains, and flamingo tongues. He was notorious for his elaborate pranks, such as releasing wild animals during banquets or serving guests deceptive dishes designed to confound them. These stories, though likely exaggerated by hostile historians, contributed to his enduring reputation for debauchery and eccentricity. His private life was equally scandalous. He married 5 times, including a controversial union with Aquilia Severa, a Vestal virgin, an act considered sacrilegious in Rome, as Vestals were bound to lifelong chastity in service of the goddess Vesta. Furthermore, he engaged in numerous relationships, including with men, and often referred to himself in the feminine. Some accounts suggest that Elagabalus preferred to be addressed as a woman, and even requested to be called lady, rather than lord. Some historical reports claimed he offered vast sums of money to any physician who could perform a procedure to physically transform him into a woman, making him one of the earliest recorded figures to express gender nonconformity in the ancient world. Elagabalus's extravagance and disregard for Roman customs fueled growing resentment, particularly among the Senate and the Praetorian Guard. His open disdain for traditional Roman values, coupled with his foreign religious practices, alienated many of the empire's elite. The emperor's constant interference in political appointments, replacing experienced officials with favorites of his own choosing, further deepened the discontent. Sensing that his erratic behavior threatened the family's power, his grandmother Julia Maesa shifted her support to his cousin and designated heir Alexander Severus, a young man who displayed the discipline and restraint Elagabalus lacked. Elagabalus repeatedly sought to remove Alexander from succession, but his attempts to strip him of his shared imperial title were blocked by the Senate. At one point, he fabricated news of Alexander's illness to gauge the reaction of the Praetorian Guard, only to spark a revolt. The Praetorians demanded both emperors appear before them. On March 13, 222 CE, the 18-year-old Elagabalus complied with their summons, arriving at the Praetorian camp alongside his mother Julia Soaemius and Alexander. However, when they reached the encampment, the soldiers greeted Alexander with enthusiasm while openly ignoring the emperor. Enraged, Elagabalus ordered the immediate execution of those responsible for the display of insubordination. In retaliation, the Praetorian Guard turned against him and his mother, launching a brutal attack. Both Elagabalus and Julia were executed. Their bodies were dragged through the streets of Rome before being cast into the Tiber River. His name was subjected to damnatio memoriae, a Roman practice that sought to erase an individual from historical records. With his death, Alexander Severus ascended the throne, ushering in a return to stability. Elagabalus is remembered as one of the most decadent and controversial rulers in Roman history. While some historical accounts may have been exaggerated by hostile sources, his efforts to impose a foreign religious cult and his unconventional behavior secured his place as a unique and infamous figure in the annals of the empire. His brief reign remains synonymous with excess and chaos, yet modern scholars argue that his legacy also reflects the deep-seated Roman resistance to cultural and religious change, rather than merely the eccentricity of a young and unconventional emperor.